I'm trying to show you that when God speaks, you fight to hold on to it. It's just not done until it's done. And until it's done, it's going to be a fight to get it done. That's just the truth of it. And you're going to have a lot of people naysaying you. And you're going to have a lot of trials come your way. And a lot of haters and a lot of whispers from the enemy. And we'll get to that here in a second. Trying to take from you, not even some of them knowing it, these promises that God has given to you. Now let me just show you case in point in this, okay? The year was 2016 and God put a dream in my heart. He spoke it to me and I couldn't let it go, so I had to rise up and do it, right? He gave it to me. And it was a simple dream. I come from a small town. Like, you don't know where I come. I come from a small town. There's 6,000 people in it. And God put a dream in me. He instilled this vision in me to put up a tent and bring 1,000 people underneath it to worship Jesus. In my town, that's a sixth of the town. That's a pretty big order. It ain't ever been done before. You know what I'm saying? We ain't got churches that big around here. And yet God spoke, and I said yes. I believed him. What he said, I believed even above my own doubts with this. And I went to work. And I started seeing if this door was really open, if this was really of God. So I had to find a location for it first. That's a big tent. That's going to be a lot of parking when God brings them. Like, let's talk faith into it. You know what I'm saying? Not if God brings them, when God brings them. So we got a Speedway in town. I go and talk to them, and they say, you want to talk about birds of prey coming. Nice birds of prey, friendly birds of prey, and yet they can still chip away at what God has promised if you let them. I talked to the general manager of it, nice guy, respectable guy. And he goes, man, wouldn't that be amazing? Like, you can use the parking lot, like the grass parking lot where they park everyone. You can use it, absolutely, if it was really possible. Like, it sounds great, but it's never going to happen. But if you can get it to happen, you can have it. And I'm like, that's all I needed just to see the door was cracked. I ain't got to hear the impossible part. Like, that's just the bird of prey trying to stop you, trying to take from you what God has put in you. But we pushed it away like Abraham did, like we need to start doing in our lives. I pushed it away. I'm like, door, it's cracked. We got to get this thing going. We ordered the tent now that we got the parking lot. Now you start ordering equipment for this thing, bills add up, right? And of course, money always comes up in church work. I got no idea why, but it does. So now I got the parking lot, I got the tent, and now I got the money issue, right? And I'll never forget this. I can tell you the church I was at was one of the bigger ones in our county. I'm sitting at the elders trying to tell them what we are doing. I'm not a member of this church, but I'm inviting them to this. Because the kicker I haven't told you yet is that I'm asking the churches in my community to shut down for the weekend. Like, shut your service down Sunday and come worship with us. Like, unheard of, right? That's their bread and butter. That's when they go to work. They got one day to do it, basically. And I'm asking them to shut their doors and just come worship. No strings attached. I ain't going to take up offering. I'm not going to do communion. We're going to preach Jesus and worship him. That's it. All under one tent, all celebrating together. We called it United. And I'm sitting at this elders meeting, right? And they said, what? Like, there's no way this thing's free. This has got to cost money to put on. Who's going to pay for it? And I saw the bird of prey coming. You know what I'm talking about? I saw it. I said, no. I don't want your money. I don't want nothing of your money. God's honest truth, here's the words that come out of my mouth. My God will pay for this. Listen to me, he ain't showed up for this yet. I just knew when he spoke. I said, my God will pay for this. I said, it's going to cost $5,000. And if he don't show up, I'll pay for it myself. That's what I told him, sitting at the desk. I can tell you that. I can take you to the room that it happened in right now. I'll never forget it because the bird of prey came. They thought there was a twist to it. You want us to invest in this. I don't want your money. I want you to show up and represent and unite alongside other Christians and worship in the name of Jesus. If my God don't show up to pay for it, which he will, I'll do it. All I want you is commitment to come. Shut those doors. And I left that place. Now here's why I'm telling you, you've got to start driving stuff away in your life. Because 1 week later, I go to my mailbox and I just told these men that my God will show up with $5,000 and pay for this revival. I just told them that. And I go to my mailbox and I open it up and there's a check in there for guess how much? $5,000. Blew my mind. Never had a check come in this size of the ministry in my life. And yet I just said, my God will pay. And my God comes through from a man from a different town, had no idea what was going on. He just knew he was supposed to send. So now God is also blessing him and allowing him to hear his voice. How did it happen? Listen, this ain't about monies and stuff. I'm trying to show you something. It happened because we drove the birds of doubt away. We drove the birds of fear away. We drove the birds of greed away. We drove all that away, and we stood on the promises of God, and God showed up, just like he did in Abraham. He showed up with the fire and the smoke. And if you will drive those birds of prey and hold on to those promises of God, he will show up with the fire. He will show up with the smoke. He will show up with what he has promised you, because that is his purpose. That's why he told you in the first place, put it out there that I might bless it. But if you put it out there and let it get ate, what's he got to bless? See what I'm talking about? If Abraham were to let those vultures devour that meat, what could he have walked through? He had to be diligent, and we must be diligent ourselves and protect these promises that God gives us. Now let me go back to this story. My God showed up big in that check, right? Big. I'm talking for a man ain't got nothing in his ministry account. That was big for us. And it gave us something to start a revival with. But he wasn't done. Because after I went from church to church to church, they all say it sounds great, but there won't be 1,000 people on the field. No way there'll be 1,000 people on the field. I said, just come. Just come. And don't you know the day of the revival showed up and the parking lot was empty for a minute? I mean, it just was. I'm like, it's going to be like all the other times that we put ourselves out there and it didn't work, right? And that doubt came up. But at that point, I didn't even have to drive the doubt away. My God took care of that. And that's what happens when you stand long enough. God shows up and holds you. You know what I'm saying? He shows up and he silences the doubt, because all of a sudden we saw a backup happen on the highway. Never forget it. Cars just lined down the highway waiting to get into the parking lot. And they kept coming. And they kept coming. And pretty soon, a sixth of the town showed up. We had 1,000 people underneath that tent, worshiping the name of Jesus, heralding the name of Jesus, all together united under the banner of Jesus. 12 different churches showed up, people from the bar from the night before, and families that come. Like 1,000 people gathered. How'd it happen? We drove some birds of prey away, and we stood on the promises of God.